We're finally here, people. It's round 2. Oilers versus Canucks. Oilers Nation versus Canucks Army. Good versus evil. Whatever way you want to put it. Because after 7 days of waiting patiently, I might put Patrick, game 1 is finally here. And I straight up could not be more jacked up for this round, this specific matchup. It's Canada. It's Canada on Canada, and it's going to be a good one. So hello and welcome to Pre-Gaming with Bordsy, presented by Sherwood Ford, the Giant. I'm your host, Aaron Bordato, joined by the man behind the scenes yet again, Patrick Puff. Pat, we're at GRETA. Yet again, first game of round 2. Crowd's already starting to fill in a little bit here. I love GRETA games here downtown in Edmonton, and tonight I expect no different. I expect another full house.
Oh, 100%. It's so nice to be just right downtown. And in intermission, you can play some games. They've got obviously awesome drinks and whatnot. Great people here. So, yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
I've never played Street Fighter yet. I'm just realizing that's right there. Brett, I want you. Street Fighter one-on-one. I want you. Brett, he's behind the scenes. He's going to be producing all night. You're going to get me and Pat for Oilersnation After Dark. Maybe we'll get a live hit from the boys, boots on the ground in Vancouver. There was no pre-game show tonight. But Friday, there will be a pre. It'll be a battle of the dueling GRETA parties.
Oh, yeah.
Because they'll be downtown Vancouver at their GRETA. I'm curious how the fans there are going to react to them doing a live show from their bar.
Well, it's weird, too, because they have their own Oilers bar in Vancouver.
Yep.
That's
Shout out Black
right
Frog.
now.
If you're in Vancouver right now, go check out Black Frog.
But I'm hoping it's 2 Canadian teams. We got to keep it somewhat civil. We've all seen the Twitter and everything going on right now.
I don't think that's going to happen.
It is wild. So hopefully they can have a fun time and, get some respect from the Vancouver fans while they're there.
Absolutely. I like that you just pointed that out. If you've been online lately, if you're an Oilers fan or a Canucks fan, sheesh, people, it's getting crazy out there. But this is where the things start getting good. We know that round 1, the LA Kings, the Oilers, they made quick work of them in 5 games. But you get 2 Canadian teams. You get 2 very good teams. The Canucks obviously own the head-to-head record, 4-2 zip. There you see the tail of the tape so far these playoffs. Scoring goals has been an issue for those Canucks, but these 2 cities might legitimately burn each other down by the end of this playoff series. I think all land from Alberta over to BC in that area, you better look out, and it's going to be heated. I like that you mentioned it. You've been online recently. Try and keep it civil in the chat tonight. I know that's not going to happen, but I'm still just going to say let's try and do it. Catching up in the chat, though, Lance Kane is here, and he said the Discord came out strong in the Gregor show to fight the Canucks Army. Also, Lance, funny moment. We were sitting here. Lance is in the bar over there, everybody. Shout out Lance, looking beautiful with the orange and blue hair. Pat, I turned to you and said, why isn't Lance in the chat yet? As those words came out of my mouth, he instantly got in there and said he was fighting against the Canucks fans. Something, Pat, I think we're going to be seeing a lot of through these potential 7 games.
Yeah, and hopefully, we're going to get into this, obviously, as the show goes on, but it's one of those things I kind of want to I just want to get the first goal. I want to get on them early, and we can kind of maybe shut them up a little bit, because at the end of the day, it does kind of suck that one Canadian team isn't going to make it through this round. Hopefully it's us, knock on wood. But it is a little unfortunate that, it's not as civil as we would have once hoped.
Well, it'll be there. I've been a former Canucks Army producer for Canucks Conversation, and I've seen it all. They defended me, so hopefully I have a couple of Canucks fans at least. But getting back to the ice, the Oilers, they haven't played since last Wednesday. It's been 7 days. The Canucks, they finished their series on Friday. So it's the age-old debate of rest versus rust. Frankly, I am very sick of hearing that debate. I think if you asked any professional athlete, let alone any NHL player that's been through 82 games and has gone into the NHL playoffs, I think 99.9 of them are going to tell you're going to take rest every bit of that. Playoffs are tough. Guys battle through injury, right? The age-old thing is, are you hurt or are you injured? You got to try and make your way through it. The whole point of finishing up a playoff series early is to get that rest up your guys, rest versus rust. I just simply do not get the debate. I'm taking rest 100 times out of 100. But the point, with both teams, the Oilers have had 6 days off. The Canucks have now had 4 days off in between their games. I don't think inactivity is going to be a disadvantage for either team so far. What do you think?
No, I agree. And, there may be something to be said about some of the series that go game 7 and then Boston played 2 days later. They're riding the high,
they
winning
won
that game
5-1
7. You can bring that into the next series. Vancouver's had enough time off that I don't think it's going to matter. And really only 2 more days than Edmonton. And not only that, but they had to travel to Nashville and back. So one extra travel day that we didn't get. So as you mentioned, I'm taking rest over rust 100%. And I don't think it's going to matter in this series, just being that it's been so long for both teams.
Exactly. I agree. People in the chat right now, I see some rust. Rust makes sense for sports like boxing and MMA. Absolutely. As a fan, I'm taking rest all day, every day. As a guy who hosts a show, I also want to take rest the entire time because I got to enjoy my weekend. We made the joke that my regular weekend probably would still be at GRETA.
Yeah.
I'm proud to report I didn't go out this weekend. Props to me, everybody. Props to me, everybody.
It's a miracle.
But it does sound like the Edmonton Oilers could have maybe used a little bit more rust as Adam Henrique, Rico, he's confirmed out tonight. He's out with a lower leg injury, which I believe in English means sprained ankle. I want to say that. I don't know that. They at least gave us lower leg instead of lower body. Evander Kane, we know him. He's been dealing with some injuries. He's dealing with that sports hernia as well. He wasn't practicing. He's going to be good to go in this lineup. But no Henrique. That's a major loss for the Edmonton Oilers. Fans can bitch about his offensive production all you want. Frank Saravalli today said with him out and Sam Carrick both expected to be out in this game that he's like, well, the Oilers trade deadline wasn't that good then. And I go, well, injury isn't a reason to say it wasn't good. Rico has been an asset to this team, but there's been that debate of whether was he worth the first round pick because he hasn't put up maybe the offensive numbers in the box score that you'd like to see. I don't care about that at all. I think Rico has been a great addition. He's fit in seamlessly on 97's wing with Zach Hyman and Connor McDavid. I understand that a first round pick was traded. Don't care. He's been good. It'll be a big loss without him tonight. What do you think? We'll start with just Rico on that side of it. It's tough. I was expecting him to be in this game. I thought he would toughen up and maybe go out there. And it's the question, are you hurt or are you injured? Sounds like Rico's injured.
Yeah, it is unfortunate and one of those things where, we've had 7 days off, but, if we started our series 5 days ago, Rico might have missed the whole series, right? So that is kind of the bonus of the rest as well. And it's unfortunate. I think Rico's played really well this series, and I think everyone has their role. Zach Hyman, 6 goals in the first 5 games against LA, and sure, he maybe not Rico may not be on the score sheet for all those, but he has his role on the ice. He's taking faceoffs when he needs to. And so I think it's a big loss for sure, but one can hope that Janmark and whoever else makes their debut on the line can step up tonight.
See some people in the chat right now who sit dry. Bordsy, you want more rest? We haven't played in a week, man. What the fuck? I said I enjoyed my rest. Listen, Dry.
Take it when you can get it, right?
Mr. Burns had my back in there. Dry? I know I had a week off and I enjoyed every bit of it. It's okay. But you just mentioned the man, Mattias Janmark. He is expected to be on the Edmonton Oilers first line tonight. An unusual choice if you just looked at his point totals this season, but as nation citizens know, Connor McDavid loves playing with Janmark. I think that's part of the reason why he re-signed here. A lot of the big dogs, Leon, Nuge, they like playing with Janmark because there's comfortability there. He plays with speed. He has offensive upside. He also has the 3rd most playoff experience on this entire team. I believe it's 71 career games played in the playoffs. I like the move to bring Yanni up there. It's been reported, though, Nobby's just going to start with Yanni up there, plans to rotate some guys through because he wants to keep Janmark fresh for the penalty kill. I'll ask you just off the hop, thoughts on Mattias Janmark getting that top spot. I think a lot of people maybe overreacted at first when you see it. As I mentioned, it's the point totals and everything. But when you read into it that they're going to rotate through, it's not just going to be Janmark. But I do think he has the skill and the hockey IQ to play well with 97 and Zach Hyman.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were hesitant on this, and I maybe could be in that category at first. But the more I think about it, it kind of does make sense. As you mentioned, he's not going to be there the whole time, so it's going to allow us to kind of throw whoever we need to in that spot whenever we can to kind of mess with their line situation. But also, like you said, Janmark's got the speed, and he's used to playing with fast players like that, and he's kind of the path to least destruction, as Tyler would say. You're
not going to mess with anything else
to keep the other 3 lines, and I think that is so big. While at the same time being able to swap people in and out whenever we need. And I mean, Janmark in game 2 against LA had an incredible game. He was flying out there with Holloway, and I think there's a lot of times where he skates around in circles in our zone and he keeps the puck on his stick, and he's a safe player to put on the first line up against a tough matchup. And realistically, you know, if everyone on the ice is covering McDavid and Hyman, then he's going to be open. Doesn't really matter who it is at this point.
Mattias Janmark, anytime goal tonight? Do we dare? I already checked that way. They don't even offer that as an option. Maybe they will now. Keep it locked. We'll find out a little bit later. Also, with the Janmark, you mentioned game 2 against LA. Dare I say, Mattias Janmark, maybe he wasn't the best in the top 6, but he might have been, or in the bottom 6. He might have been one of our best bottom 6 forwards in that first round. He played with a lot of speed. There was a moment here that it was 13 going down the ice. None of those look like 97, but the way he was speeding and ripping down, I thought it was Connor McDavid. I'm curious to see what we got in here. Some people in the chat said, Lance, Janmark represents us all. Somebody said McDavid loves to play with Yanni. Yep, that's true. Somebody else here said that they've tried it before and they go away from it. Yes, because obviously Mattias Janmark isn't a top line player on this team, but in spurts here and there, bits and pieces, I do think he can be an asset tonight. One other interesting note with this matchup. The Vancouver Canucks owned the Edmonton Oilers this season. They went 4-0 against the Oil. We all remember game 1 as we were actually in this building and the Oilers lost 8-1 to the Vancouver Canucks. That was my first pre-gaming and my first After Dark. I went, oh shit, this is going to be an incredibly long year. If it's going to be like this, they lost 4-3 a couple days later. They got smoked 6-2, I believe, on November 6th. But then the Edmonton Oilers, they made some changes, and boy, were they significant. They fire head coach Jay Woodcroft. You obviously bring in Chris Knobloch, but you bring in Paul Coffey to run the defense, which I think has arguably been the biggest impact on this team throughout the season. Boom. Almost immediately, the team starts to play well. What? We had an 8-game win streak. We had a 16-game win streak, both of which solved all of my problems. You can still buy that shirt. But they didn't play again until April 13th. The Canucks won that one, but McDavid wasn't in the lineup in that one as well. So I'm curious to ask you about how much can we put stock into those first 4 matchups, more so maybe the first 3, because the Oilers feel like an entirely different team from there. You've brought in Rico, Carrick, Stetcher. Granted, those 3 aren't going to be playing tonight. You've got Dylan Holloway now. You've brought in Corey Perry. I know it's easy for Oiler fans to say it doesn't matter. Is that just loser talk? I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, I can see why people would say that, but no, I don't think there's any part of me that puts the regular season a factor here at all. I think we always say that, you know, the points don't count, the awards don't count. And once you go into the playoffs, everything is null. And like you mentioned, we brought in so many different players, a new head coach. McDavid wasn't playing. There's so many factors involved in the regular season. And no, I don't put any weight on those 4 games that we lost. I think we can easily come out and flip the script on them.
I like Ryan here. He said 5%. Give me the percentages in there. I couldn't say I can't put any weight into it, but I'm in that 10 to 20% somewhere around there because they still got to play the games. It's still the same guys out there, but I like the point you made. Awards don't matter. Regular season stats don't matter. Frankly, you move on to game 2 and game 1 doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
So you go from there.
100%. The first series doesn't matter once you start this one, right? At the end of the day, it's 1 game at a time. You got to win 4 games and you move on. Like I said, realistically, our stats against LA don't even really matter to me, to be honest. So regular season, it's low on the totem pole of factors for me.
I know your name is Dry or Dre, but you can't write dry like that in an Oilers Nation chat. You're dry. You're going to be dry forever. And there's one guy I want to mention because if you ask Dry, Leon Draisaitl, about the regular season, he's going to tell you it doesn't matter. And frankly, he looks pretty pissed off to continue answering that question. I like what you mentioned. It's a new season. It's a new vibe. There's a different roster, both sides. You can't completely discount that regular season record. It doesn't really matter. To an extent, it does. So the playoffs are here, people. And you know that means it's time to oil up. Pat, you're rocking last year's
I got an old
oil
one.
up t-shirt. Kennedy, Eric, the graphics crew just do excellent work. There you see it on your screen. Go pick them up at nationgear.ca. We got shirts, we got hats, we got all kinds of other gear. You know it if you've ever entered that website before. Get a Pre-Gaming with BORDZY shirt while you're there. But it's time to oil up, brought to you by nationgear.ca. You could also live, laugh, Lavamba. Was pretty jealous of Tyler rocking that bad boy. Look at those sweaters, people. Those ones are still flying off the shelves. I got the word from marketing Maddie recently. Let's move along now. Let's go to our need to know info courtesy of Will Hawk Beef Jerky, because only the finest tasting meat products earn that Will Hawk name. Made from 100% pure Alberta beef, Will Hawk Beef Jerky is aged, seasoned, marinated, and smoked to savory perfection. Vacuum sealing is available. You can pick them up online at willhawkbeefjerky.com. You can go check them out at their kiosk mall locations in Leduc, Spruce Grove, or West Edmonton Mall. So as I mentioned, off the hop, the Oil, no Rico tonight. He's out with a lower leg injury. He'll be replaced by Mattias Janmark. Evander Kane, he has been practicing, but he's ready to go. He will be in the lineup. And people, it's finally here. Connor Brown making his Edmonton Oilers playoff debut. He didn't play at all in round one, so you can imagine he's had lots of rest. Maybe a little rust there as well. But he said in an interview today he likes where his game's at. He's excited to get back in the lineup, that he felt March, April, his game really started to turn around. We can all harp on the goal scoring totals, which don't get me wrong, I made a freaking map about that throughout the season, but he's good to go tonight. I'm very curious to see how he performs. And with the Oilers' penalty kill being at 100% in the first round, I've thought for the most part this season that Connor Brown's been, if not the one of the best PKers on this team. I'm excited to see what he brings tonight. What do you think about Browning?
Yeah, it's definitely not going to hurt the PK at all. And don't get me wrong, at some point in these playoffs, we are probably going to get scored on the penalty kill. It's going to happen eventually, but I don't think that...
What?
But I don't think that Connor Brown's going to be the reason for that by any means. And this is a guy who, like you said, started to pick up some momentum at the end of the season, starting to feel his game and his confidence a little bit. And now he has a chance to prove himself and come in again. Forget the regular season. Like you mentioned before the show, 1 goal in this game by Connor Brown, and no one's going to care what happened in the regular season. So he's going to come in flying. He's going to want to earn his spot. I don't know how that would work in the lineup once Rico comes back, but he's going to be putting in 100% tonight, and he could be a physical guy if he wants to as well. So hopefully he can get that going.
I'm curious if Brownie can kind of do what Dylan Holloway's done, what Derek Ryan has done a little bit, played so well that you tell Nobby, this is going to be a tough decision for you if you want to take me out. Also, Derek Ryan, he'll stay in that 4C slot, meaning all the acquisitions I said from the trade deadline won't play tonight in Henry, Carrick, Troy, Stetcher. The Oilers, round one, they breezed. I think it's fair to say they breezed past the LA Kings, but apparently if you ask Rob Blake,
apparently not.
Apparently he thinks it was right there. Don't know what game you were watching there, buddy. Enjoy the unemployment line soon. Bet that one comes. But Connor McDavid, he had 12 points. Leon had 10. Hyman scored 7 goals in 5 games. There you see it, the points leaders. But it was the special teams that dominated. The Oil power play went 9 for 20 and obviously 100% on the PK. One big note as well. Shout out to our boy Waz. I just mentioned to the boys here. I went through and I fact-checked because the last time Waz had 7 + 2 = 10. It's 9. But these numbers are correct. The Oilers, their roster has a combined 1,101 games played in playoffs, while the Canucks have a combined 574 career games played in the playoffs. That is quite the discrepancy, quite the advantage with playoff experience. Once again, how much can you really put into that? We are in round 2, so they've already gone through 1 round. And then, of course, Stuart Skinner, he's going to get the start tonight for the Oilers. He battled back after a tough game 1 and game 2. And now he has a beautiful 2.59 goals against, 910 save percentage. Stu, he's huge. We know this.
Oh, yeah. Stu's been
This is my shocked face.
No, Stu's been incredible, and I don't expect any less from him in this series. He just has such a great mental game. And I think coming into this, he's the better goalie. The other goalie, regardless of his numbers, has very little experience in the NHL.
He's played 12 games in the NHL.
Exactly, and he's playing great, and that's awesome for them. But at the end of the day, experience is gonna be huge in this series, and Stuart Skinner is right there in that category, as you mentioned, with the numbers. What was the numbers again? 1,100 to 500, something like that.
Yeah.
So like, I just think that's so big and going to be a big part of this series because we've seen the Oilers make the playoffs and then they learn some lessons and then they make the playoffs and they learn some lessons, and Vancouver's going to have to do that. Yeah, they made it past the first round, but I just think it's tough. Playoff hockey is tough. It's mental, and it's going to take a while for them to learn each and every day kind of how to get through those games. So, yeah, I think it's for Stu especially, it's going to be huge.
You got to learn to lose before you can win. This is something that isn't just the NHL. This isn't new. This is every professional sports league, I'd argue. And the Oilers, they've learned how to lose, and they've done it in some painful ways. So hopefully this can happen. You have to think the Canucks, don't they need to go through a couple years of struggles like this, of going into the second round? And I don't know. We'll see how it goes throughout this series. On the Vancouver Canucks side of things, they entered tonight moderately healthy, aside from one important man in the crease that will be out until game 4 at least. That's Thatcher Demko. But Elias Pettersson, he's been weird. He only has 3 assists through their first 6 games in their series. There you see it on your screen. Still 18 minutes of ice time average. So it's been reported he's dealing with an injury. It's been reported he's dealing with an illness. He's confirmed good to go tonight. He'll center that Canucks second line with Nils Höglander and Ilya Mikheyev. Mikheyev, a guy that Frank said today, he was at every game in that series, and he said legitimately, I don't even know if he played. So I'll be curious to see if that second line can get rolling. And then Thatcher Demko, our boy, Frank Saravalli, he reported he'll be out until at least after game 4. He said he won't be taking live shots until Sunday. So even if that happens on Sunday, we'll still have to keep a close eye on that. And then, of course, that means it's Arturs Shelovs, as David Quadrelli said, it's pronounced Shelovs. He'll be making, I believe, his 13th career start tonight. He was great in round 1. It was crazy. He leaves that series with a 1.70 goals against average and a .938 save percentage. Pretty good for a playoff debut, I would say. Ryan O'Reilly, Philip Forsberg, Colton Sissons. That ain't Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, and Zach Hyman. What do you think about Shelovs? It's been quite a story.
It's
objectively, I hate the man. But.
Well, you have to, right? It's 100% impressive for him to come into a playoff series and just play so well with the confidence and poise that he has. But I do think it's a factor that at the end of the day, he hasn't played against Connor and Draisaitl, and you can show him the tape all you want of Draisaitl burying it from the goal line.
Connor coming at you that fast.
Until one buzzes past his ear, he doesn't have that experience, and I think that's going to be huge for us. Granted, he's played great, and if he can keep that going, it's going to be tough for us, but I still think Stuart Skinner is the better goalie coming into this series.
I like Davin said, what if we break him?
Hey.
That'd be awesome. That'd be incredible. Got to keep in mind, Casey DeSmith did beat the Edmonton Oilers earlier this season as well, and we'll have to keep that news locked on Thatcher Demko because that could be the pendulum swinger, but who knows? Your best ability is availability. Let's move along now to the Around the NHL Playoff Report, brought to you by Boston Pizza, because it's been 30 years since a Canadian team has won the Cup, and there's only 2 of them left. So let's get this going. What would it take for Canadian hockey fans to set aside their differences and work together to end this drought? I think inside Vancouver GRETA or Edmonton GRETA right now, the answer would be a resounding no. We will not team up together. Is it your team or nothing? Can you get behind them under the right circumstances? Vancouver Canucks fans, this is my plea to you. Once this series goes the way that we hope it does, plenty of room on the bandwagon. Oh, yeah. I will take quads. You can sit right here in the middle of me and Pat. We don't bite. We're nice guys. But the NHL playoffs, things are getting going right now. I laughed earlier when Lance put in the chat, Bordsy, can you get them to put on the Panthers? I don't know why they wouldn't have that going right now. So Lance, let me know if they switched that up. But right now, the Florida Panthers are up 3-1 on those Boston Bruins after dropping game 1 by a score of 5-1. You mentioned it. The Bruins had, 2 days? 1 day in between?
I think it was
Saturday and then Monday?
Yeah.
So they had 1 day of rest to go in there. They pick up right where they left off after beating the Toronto Maple Leafs in 7 games. But the Panthers, dude, they've been a wagon all season for a reason. They're deep in offense. They're deep on defense. Bobrovsky has been an absolute stud. When is he going to fall apart? I never know. He seems to be at that age where you think it might happen. What do you think of this series so far? It's 3-1 Florida.
Yeah.
Do you think they can battle back? I think this series going 7.
Yeah, I can easily see the series going to 7. I think there is something to be said about Boston coming into that game just after a game 7. They're feeling good about themselves. They're all pumped up. And yeah, they put 5 in. And I think the big storyline there too is Jeremy Swayman's playing out of his mind right now, which is really fun to watch. But there's no doubt the Florida Panthers are going to bounce back from that. As you mentioned, 3-1. I can see them finishing that off at some point here tonight and taking this to 7 by far. This is going to be a fun series all the way through.
Dude, a lot of these series right now, there's only 8 teams remaining, so you're getting best on best all over the place. But like the Oilers Canucks could very well be a third round series. The Rangers Carolina could easily be that. Florida Boston. Yesterday, it was quite the hockey night as well. 2 games went to overtime. Went 2 for 2 last night. The Rangers were able to beat the Hurricanes in double overtime as they take a 2-0 series lead. It's not a series until somebody loses on home ice. Curious, do you think Carolina comes back and wins too? This is another one I feel could go 7.
Yeah, I think Carolina is going to come back. Will they win it? I might be leaning on the side of New York, but I don't think it's going to be a sweep. A lot of people are talking about a sweep for some reason, which I
don't get that.
I just don't see it, but New York's playing really well right now, so that's going to be a fun series. Shesterkin also playing out of his mind, but I think I've got New York with the edge on this one, just slightly.
Igor made 54 saves yesterday at Madison Square Garden. They were chanting, Igor, Igor. He gave an interview after. You can tell how much he loves the fans. And dude, playing in MSG every night, that'd be absolutely incredible. Then the other series, the Avs and the Stars. The Avalanche beat the Stars by a score of 4-3. And it was comeback city in that one as Dallas went up 3-0 in the first period. But the Avalanche just kept picking them off, working their way back. You see it there was a score of 4-3. The power play for the Avalanche, if we were to play them in a third round series, not looking ahead.
Nope.
But if we were, Jay did that a lot today on Oilersnation Every Day. The chat was pissed. That's just best on best, stars on stars. But once again, this Stars and Avalanche series is loaded with talent. Another one that you could see it being the conference final. It's happening in the second round. Who do you think is going to win that bad boy? How many games?
Ooh, this one's destined to go to 7 as well.
I think we're the only one that doesn't think goes 7.
I've been leaning towards the Dallas Stars, but I think the Avalanche just really have that game where they don't give up. And you saw it in the first game. They're never, ever out of a game. They have that try. McKinnon has got them dialed in. That power play just as lethal as ours. So I think after watching that first game, I'm leaning slightly towards the Avalanche in 7, but not by much, by any means.
I think I'm still Dallas. I think I'm still a Dallas guy, and it's solely because of the man in the crease.
That's true.
I think both teams might have equal-ish top talent on there. They both have studs on the back end, Heiskanen, Cale Makar. The one sizable difference, I think, is Jake Ottinger compared to Alexander Georgiev. One programming note that I do love about round 2, look at this. So tonight, 2 games. Thursday, 2 games. Friday, 2 games. Saturday, 2 games. Sunday, 2 games. Everything is sticking to schedule, and it's the same game. So you're going to be watching Bruins-Panthers leading into Oilers-Canucks for maybe this entire series. I do like that. But that was your Around the NHL segment brought to you by Boston Pizza. I'm sure I've asked you your favorite menu item before, but I can't remember.
Boston. I think it's the spicy pierogi pizza for me, to be honest. That's my number one, and then the cactus cuts are number 2. I love a good cactus cut. That's that dip. I don't know what's in it. It's super spicy, but I love it.
They put crack. Yeah. Kidding. I think the most popular answer has been the spicy pierogi pizza and the cactus cuts. When you got a winner, you got a winner.
Yeah, they're the staples.
Let's move along now to the Edmonton Oilers lineup report brought to you by Sherwood Ford, the Giants. Sherwood Ford, home of the Giant Advantage and Dealer Raiders Alberta Ford Store of the Year Award for customer satisfaction. With a giant selection of new and used vehicles, it's the best place to find, finance, and service a Ford vehicle in Edmonton and Sherwood Park. You can find giant deals and a giant array of services and parts too. Whether you prefer shopping online or in-store, they've got you. They've also got the best sales staff you could ever imagine. They're not pushy. They're so friendly. They've got Sherbucks, best coffee in the game, as our boy Liam has been quick to point out quite a bit throughout this season. But let's take a look at the projected Edmonton Oilers lineup this evening. There you see it. It's Mattias Janmark on the top line with Connor McDavid and Zach Hyman. Second line, everything staying the same there. Nuge, Dry with Evander Kane. They've really picked up their play as of late. Evander, especially dealing with that sports hernia. Then it's Dylan Hollywood Holloway staying on the third line with Ryan McLeod and Corey Perry. I think it's fair to say that most fans have wanted to see a little bit more from Corey Perry, maybe that line offensively in general. Ryan McLeod has been a defensive stud. The numbers will tell you. I'll let my boy Zach Lang tell you the analytics on that one. But I think the more these playoffs get deeper, you're going to see number 90, the worm, Corey Perry, score a greasy one and a big one. And then your fourth line, it's Warren Fogle with Derek Ryan and Connor Brown. On the D side, it's Matthias Ekholm with Bush, Nurse with CC, and Brett Kulak, my boy, with Brett's boy, Vincent Desharnais. You're my boy. Dap it up, baby. So it's technically first line Yanni tonight, but as we talked about off the hop, they're going to be rotating players in all throughout. And I like the idea that Nobby said it's to keep Janmark fresh for the penalty kill.
Yep.
I also really want to see Dylan Holloway get a couple shifts
I think you
up
will.
there. I think he will as well. What do you think of the rotation aspect? Do you think it's silly? Should you commit to one guy to trying to find that chemistry? Or maybe is this telling me this could just be a lesser absence for one Adam Henrique and we're just trying to plug holes until he can come back? What do you think about the idea to rotate?
Yeah, I definitely think there's something to keeping the lines consistent throughout a game. But at this point, you're kind of married to swapping people in and out with Janmark having to do the penalty kill as well. I don't mind it as well. You're talking about Connor McDavid, the best hockey player on the planet. You can't tell me he is not going to be comfortable playing with anyone on this lineup that he's played 82.
Dude, he probably handpicked and went,
Exactly.
I want you, Janmark.
So
and he went,
I don't think that's going to be an issue whatsoever. And I think the attention for the most part is going to be on McDavid while he's on the ice anyway. So whoever is with McDavid at the time just needs to play their role, get to the net, find the puck, and just keep your stick on the ice because he will get it to you.
the guy on the other side of that line does exactly that, and he scored 50-plus goals this
There you
season. Betway, if you're watching, can you please put Janmark anytime goal on the site? I really want to hammer that. And if it happens tonight, we're celebrating.
Yeah,
Pink Whitney
100%.
shot on me. Pink Whitney shot on
Deal.
me. If that does happen today in the chat on ONE, there was some clamoring for other guys in that spot in the lineup. Obviously, Dylan Holloway, we'll touch on him in just a minute. But Warren Fogle was a name that was thrown out a lot earlier this morning. And I said it is kind of crazy that he started these playoffs from third line or second line to the third line to the fourth line. Would be kind of cool if he went all the way back up to that top line. He put up career highs across the board this season, right? He's in his contract year. We all know contract year, Warren Fogle, but he's shown the ability to play with skilled guys. Him and Leon were fantastic for what felt like 40-plus games this season. And his MO in that was play fast, bang bodies, retrieve pucks, go to the net. That's something I think could work well on that top line. A lot of people want him up there. I do expect him to get a couple shifts up there. As we said, they're going to be rotating, so who knows? That one could stick. What do you think about the possibility of Fogle up there? Because it's been quite the fall through the lineup to now he's playing with Derek Ryan and Connor Brown.
Yeah, it's a fall, but it's also Evander Kane playing really well and earning that second line
It's
spot.
not by playing bad. It's by other guys playing better.
Right. Yeah. And I think it's a great opportunity for him to kind of show his worth in the lineup as well. And for him to step up, I think he's got the skill to play alongside McDavid for sure. So it'd be nice to see him, get a couple opportunities at least and, maybe put one home. Maybe there's your opportunity for an anytime goal scorer if he does get a couple shifts on the first line.
Dre's getting weird in the chat right now. And I said Dre, so you heard me say your name right there. Shout out Dry. Shout out Mr. Burns. It's all good fun. Let's keep it PG in here, people, as well. But the guy, Dylan Holloway, he's a fan favorite for a reason. It's not just because he's on the All Abs team. It's not just because he's handsome as all hell. He's been great, and he's done good stuff. Nice. Connor McDavid with Scott Oak right now. Check that out. Gotta like that. Scott Oak, he still got it. He still got it. Can't confirm. But Holloway will continue to play on that third line with McLeod and Perry. I like where he's in the lineup. He's had a strong playoff so far, and I'm kind of an anti-giving him the top line spot right off the hop because I don't know if he's necessarily earned it. But he scored 2 big goals in game 2 against LA. He's been physical. He's been engaged. He uses his speed to his advantage, but he's still a young player that doesn't have a lot of NHL playoff experience. I worry about him on the defensive side of things. We expect JT Miller and McDavid, they're going to be together the entire game, the entire series. I like keeping him insulated with a defensively conscious guy in Ryan McLeod and a vet in Corey Perry. But I do think he's the guy that everyone has circled for when he gets a shift up there with 97 and 18. Can he grab the bull by the horns? Can he just take it? Can he just, everything I just said, I hear you. I don't care. His offense is too good. He's too much of a playmaker. I would like to see that tonight, show what he can do with skilled players. What do you think about Hollywood tonight?
I 100% agree with you. I think he's going to get a couple opportunities. And as you mentioned, he's got the legs. He can jump up on that first line, play alongside McDavid, and rest up quick and jump back down on the third line if he needs. No problem whatsoever. Allow Janmark to get over to the penalty kill. Yeah, I think it's going to be a great opportunity for him to, play his run and gun game a little bit. And I think that's a little bit of why Janmark is up there. Janmark is just the safe stay-at-home option of least disruption in the lineup. But throwing Holloway up to pressure them in a couple maybe offensive faceoffs or whatnot definitely isn't going to hurt us.
Pat, they noticed my mug. I said, what does that mug say, Bordsy? I needed a cup to put some drinks in, and it says, anxious but cute. Shout out GRETA for the all-time service, and I'm sweaty as hell right now, so I'm anxious for this series. You see some people, what's in the mug, boys? You can use your imagination with that one. Then the other guy we talked about off the hop, it's Connor Brown. He's entering the lineup. I know you don't want to get overreactive to a fourth line player that he might get 10 minutes tonight, 12 minutes tonight. We will see, but he's back, and I'm happier with Connor Brown in the lineup than without. And we mentioned it. If he scores one goal in this series, he scores one big goal, all of those feelings out the window. I'll pay $4 million for 4 goals throughout the NHL playoffs. So think $1 million a goal. He's been a menace on the PK. I'm excited to see him tonight. I'm just excited.
Yeah.
I miss him.
Well, and if we're talking about, forgetting about the regular season, then perfect. He can jump in. We talked about at the start of the playoffs how if Holloway hadn't played so well, he probably would be in the lineup and he would be playing great. I think he's got the skill set to lock it down and play defensive on that fourth line. And I'm 100% excited tonight. I think he's going to come out firing and try and earn a spot in the lineup for at least a couple more games in the playoffs. Knock on wood that there's injuries and he needs to, but no, I'm super excited to see him out there tonight.
I just want to have tough lineup decisions every game because everyone's playing so well and they want to get their minutes.
It's a good problem to have.
Laughed at this from Mr. Burns. Sorry. By After Dark. Wait, Brett, unprecedented. By After Dark, the mug will be filled with the tears of Canucks fans. Dre needs a fountain because that will be overflowing. Hope those aren't famous last words. Matchup side of things tonight. I'm curious, and I brought this up to you before we went live. It's going to be a big story all series. Obviously, I expect JT Miller stink on a monkey, right? He's going to be all over 97 everywhere he goes, shadowing. Stink on a monkey. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
don't monkeys stink like shit? Yeah, that made sense. That makes sense. Oh, no, okay, fair enough. But I'm curious, the one matchup I'm curious is the D pairing side of things for the Canucks and who they're going to try and pair against that McDavid line with one Zach Hyman. It's in Vancouver. They're going to get last change, but was noted, and shout out to our boy Greg's, Jason Greger, the Canucks opted to play Tyler Myers and Carson Soucy the most against the Predators' top line of Ryan O'Reilly, Philip Forsberg, and Gustav Nyquist. As I mentioned, O'Reilly, Nyquist, Forsberg, they're not Connor, Hyman, and Mattias Janmark, but Hughes and Hronek, they played most of their minutes against the Colton Sissons line, which you could think more of as the third line. So I'm curious, do the Canucks go with the mentality of you're throwing bigger, meaner, stronger bodies at that top line in your Soucy, in your Tyler Myers, or do you go smaller and quicker with your Hughes and your Hronek? Because you have to imagine, if you're going with some of those big guys, or a Zadorov and an Ian Cole, really the bottom four on that D-core for the Canucks, Connor McDavid would be licking his chops if he sees those two retreating back, or he knows he has to step on one of them. Goodbye. See you later. Where do you think they go with that? And people in the chat, let me know what you think matchup-wise we'll get. We'll know probably 10 minutes into this game, but I'm curious.
Well, I wonder if, Susie and Myers got a little more time because Quinn Hughes is apparently nursing something right now. So that could be a little bit of a factor there as well. But I can't see them not going with Quinn Hughes and Hronik on McDavid's line tonight. It allows also for Tyler Myers and Susie to play against Draisaitl and Kane for the most part, who Kane's going to be out there hopefully banging bodies around, and you don't want Kane running into Quinn Hughes shift after shift after shift, especially if he is nursing something. So I can see them playing Quinn Hughes and Hronik against McDavid, at least to start and see how it goes. But if at the same time, if he is nursing something and it is that bad, then they might not have a choice.
I think you got to go the Hughes way just from the things I mentioned, that speed kills, man. And McDavid against one of those guys is going to be tough. But I like what you mentioned there with Quinn Hughes battling some injury, because you saw it in round one. Now, the Kings play the 1-3-1, right? So you're hanging Drew Doughty out to dry because he's just going to get destroyed every time he goes back there. But throughout the series, and we talked about it, you see it wearing on them game after game, shoulder checking, going, oh, shit, there's 91 again. Blows you up behind the net. He pinned Doughty's knee at one point. Wasn't meant to be, but it happened, and that's what you get in those situations. I'm curious if throughout this series, if you would get Quinn Hughes back there. He's a little guy. He's only 5'10", and you can bang some bodies and really get in there, because you've already heard that he is a little bit injured and a little bit banged up. One thing I want to mention before we move along, somebody said it here. I already lost it, but they were talking about Janmark on the top line, and this is a good point. I forgot to mention it earlier. This is why you line blender all season long. I've sit here, hypocrisy, hand up. I didn't like the line blender. I'm not a fan of it. But right now, you are thanking your lucky stars that all of these guys have played with one another. There's another realm. Thank you, Brett. I very much appreciate that. Haggard Prospector, you're a genius. I agree. It's very much the same, but there's consistency throughout this season. There's consistency because this roster has been together for a number of years. And Chris Knobloch, I know you're not on the Jack Adams ballot, which is bullshit, but you can get a nod from me. Also, let's talk about it right now. McDavid, no Ted Lindsay.
What the heck?
Are the players actually watching what goes out there? I know how hypocrite and dumb it sounds for me to tell actual NHL players how to vote, but I'm still gonna, because that's absolutely insane. If you didn't see the Ted Lindsay, which is voted on by the players for the most valuable player in the NHL, it's Matthews, McKinnon, and Kucherov. No McDavid. Pat, I hate that.
Yeah, I mean, he got ripped off a little bit, but I did like the point that Frank Saravalli made on ONE where,
Oh, I hated it.
You didn't like that?
I hated it.
I don't know. I mean,
just because he's had other years that are better doesn't mean this year isn't fantastic.
That's absolutely right. Expos plus the 100 assists. It's really hard to. You're obviously a big help to the team.
Frank, you're watching, right?
Well, Frank, I'm kind of with you on this one a little bit. I just think, like, if you ask McDavid himself if he could have done better at the start of the season, he would say yes. So, I mean, I guess on that sense, but I do think he got ripped off at the end of the day. I'm just trying to make an argument here.
No, and I do understand. And like, once again, Austin Matthews, if one guy has to come off that ballot to get Matthews on there, it is McDavid. I don't expect him to win the Hart Trophy. He missed the most amount of games. He has the least amount of points, right? I do believe. So it does make sense. I'm still just going to sit here and complain because that's what I do professionally. Final thing, can the Oilers, can they continue their specialty teams dominance? You have to think so. The power play goes 9 for 20 in round one. Absolutely picking apart the Kings any way they wanted. We talked about it ad nauseum, how much they're switching up their positions. If you saw the clip of Hyman mic'd up being like, they don't know how to defend this. We can do literally whatever we want right now. I'm curious how Vancouver will do with that. But one thing that was mentioned online, right, is the Kings, they took 20 minor penalties in those 5 games throughout the series. The Oilers destroyed them on the power play, and people talking, well, a team's not going to take that many penalties. The Oilers kind of baited them into a couple of those bad boys. And Vancouver in their series against Nashville, which was 6 games, they took 22 minor penalties. They were shorthanded 22 times. However, their penalty kill was 90% effective. But if you give the Edmonton Oilers that many chances, they're going to make you pay.
Yeah, they're going to be wishing or hoping that they can stay out of the box tonight. And I know people are talking about how he baited LA and whatnot, but I think, Edmonton, Vancouver could be a rivalry in the making, especially if both these teams stay good for a while. this is going to keep happening. We're going to end up seeing them in the playoffs more often, and it's going to become a little more towards the Calgary-Edmonton thing that we have going on right now, especially if Calgary isn't good next year or the year after that. But, yeah, they're going to want to stay out of the box tonight because, our power play running at 45%. Sure, their penalty kills 90, but let's just be honest. The Nashville power play isn't the Edmonton Oilers power play. And I don't want to say a series is going to be decided by refs, but if they take penalties that are legitimate penalties and we get power plays, we're going to capitalize on them.
Mainlander Tim couldn't have said it, but Brett's behind the scenes doing that. Tuesday, final. I guess this is my final thing, as you just mentioned it there. What do we expect physicality-wise, tension-wise? I know what I expect in the stands. Tyler, Liam, Jay, Bag Milk, look out for beers coming at your head because it feels like that's going to be the night where it's going to happen. But on the ice, I'm not so sure because I don't think the Oilers and Canucks have ever had a rivalry per se. We've never been good at the same time before. It's never really felt like that. As you just mentioned, this might be the start of that new rivalry, but I wouldn't say either team's known for being dirty or greasy or mucking it up style team. You know what I mean? But they do have some big mean D-men on their side. What do you think? They also, it's the playoffs. You're always going to get it. And I mentioned before, I think the first half of the series is where it gets crazier and then it tempers down near the end.
Yeah, and I think round two, both teams have had some rest. I can easily see them both coming up flying in this series. They both want to take the lead early and prove that they're the better Canadian team right off the bat. It could, however, start out a little bit slower, and one big hit, one big play, one bad penalty, and it's gonna change into a more physical series. I would imagine, though, out of the hop, this one's gonna be a little more physical, maybe not more than LA, but it's still going to be probably more for them than Nashville.
I think the crowd is going to affect this game
100%.
Tenfold, and that's going to you just got to survive that first wave, right? The first 10 minutes, round two, game one at home. The Oilers D-men, you just got to get out of there and not make brutal mistakes, turnovers in your own end. Let's move to the starting goaltender report. As I see, I've killed a lot of time. The puck drop ain't till 8:20. Right? Doesn't actually matter, except I have to MC this event we're doing right now. But the goaltender report brought to you by Sherwood Power Sports Marine. They're now officially open in Sherwood Park. They've got service for all makes and models. Bring them your service troubles. You need an inspection, a test run, some trailer TLC, or just a fresh oil change. Jesus, it's adventure time, and they've got you covered for all makes and models of boats, motorcycles, and ATVs, so you'll be ready for the season. Check them out now for all your power sports and marine needs. Let's pull it up, the tape between these two. Both have amazing numbers so far these playoffs. 259 goals against, 910 for Stuart Skinner, 1.7 goals against, and a 938 save percentage for She-Loves. Somebody said earlier, she loves. I barely even know her. Stuart Skinner gets the start. And as I've mentioned, the haters, they've been quiet for the last week and a half now because we haven't played for a week. You can add to that. But some people were ready to dance on Stuart Skinner's grave after game 1 and 2. He bounced back. Big way, big performances. Stole one in that 1-0 victory. Once again, I'm confident in saying we have the best goaltender in this series.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
If Demko's out.
But you know what, even in that sense, Frank kind of mentioned that on ONE earlier today that if Demko does come back in game 5 or 6, if they make it that far, they're going to probably play him. And I don't see why you wouldn't. It's Demko. But at that point, he could have a little bit of rust on him. He could be still nursing that injury a little bit. So I don't even know if they will do it. I believe I agree with Frank on that. Is that the best option? I'm not sure, but yeah, She-Loves has some incredible numbers here. 1.7 goals against average. In 3 games, though, against Nashville, who they had really tight games, really defensive games. They didn't have that offensive firepower that Edmonton's going to bring to them tonight. And as I mentioned a little bit earlier, he's never played against Connor and Draisaitl. Hyman even, 54 goals this season, right? So that's going to be it's going to be a little bit different of a game for him. And hopefully if we just get those shots right away, shots on him, and we can break a little bit of that confidence right at the start, it's going to be huge for us. Stuart Skinner played incredible at the last couple of games in that LA series. I have no doubts he can keep that going.
I just locked eyes with Stuart Skinner on the screen. He's got Eye of the Tiger right now, so
always.
I like that. And where we're going with that bad boy you mentioned there with She-Loves, he doesn't have much experience.
That
and
too.
sure, he's been good in that experience. I sound like a broken record. It ain't the Edmonton Oilers coming your way. I'm curious to see. It's right. Once you find lightning in a bottle, you try and trap it in that bottle, and it appears they have with Sheilov so far. I hate what I'm about to say. Let me preface it with this. But he does give you that vibe of, you've seen so many NHL goaltenders throughout the playoffs trap that lightning in a bottle, get hot. It doesn't even make sense what they're doing out there on the ice. What do you think of some names? I think of like J.S. Shiger, Yaroslav Halak. Who do you got? Aiden Hill. Well, no, I didn't want to say that.
Yeah, I also didn't want to say it.
But it really does feel like he's playing great. Can that be that fairy tale storybook thing that you've seen a lot through the NHL playoffs throughout the history of the playoffs? It's been a long time, but I hope not. I don't think that's going to happen. I, once again, think these numbers by if we get to game 3, game 4 here, you're going to see them start to dip down a little bit. But we'll have to see with our boy Archer Seeloff tonight. Let's move now to the lineup report brought to you by GRETA Bar Yag, people. We're live. We're down here. I just saw somebody in here. I think his name is Egan. He said, "See you at GRETA, Bordsy," and he spelled Bordsy wrong. But we're going to look past that. It's your spot for all your pre or post game needs. Enjoy any of their unreal features, incredible drink deals, delicious street food, dope ass games, and of course the ice cold beer you may or may not have inside your coffee cup that says you're anxious but cute. Pre, post, Friday, Saturday, Wednesday, you come on down to GRETA. If you're still not here, I still see tables available over there.
Yeah.
It's starting to fill up though, that's for sure. Volume check. Oh, yeah.
Buzzing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're going. Confirmed buzz. So let's take a peek now at the projected Vancouver Canucks lineup tonight. The top line, P.S. Suter with JT Miller and Brock Besser, as our boy Jay Onright would say. Nils Höglander with EP40 and Ilya Mikheyev, the ghost, according to Frank Saravalli. Dakota Joshua, who I think is going to piss me off a lot this series, with Elias Lindholm and Connor Garland. Then your fourth line, Phil D. Giuseppe with Teddy Bluger and Sam Lafferty. On the D side, Quinn Hughes with Philip Hronek, who has been worth every bit they paid last season to the Detroit Red Wings. And then it's Carson Soucy with Tyler Myers. And Nikita Zadorov, how do you say it?
I say Zadorov.
I say Zadorov.
I could be wrong.
Today, I'm pretty sure Ty kept saying Zadorov, and it really threw me off. But he's not here.
True. We can say whatever we want on the show.
Zadorov will be with one Ian Cole. So when you look at this lineup, I mentioned it, KA, because we talked about last series that PLD has the most punchable face in the NHL. JT Miller. He's got one, that's for sure. He's number one on their team with 6 points. Brad, I think we have the Canucks points leader so far. There it is. He's got 6. Besser's got 6. Quinn Hughes with 5 apples. Dakota Joshua, I mentioned, he's been a big surprise and he's brought a lot of energy. And then you get to the boy, EP40, Elias Pettersson, who just hasn't been himself these playoffs. I see him right now. He's doing his skate. He's going to be ready to go.
We'll see.
What do you think about him? He kind of, to me, can be an X factor in this series, that if he's still injured and he's playing the way he did in round 1, I like the Oilers' chances, because without him, I don't think Höglander and Ilya Mikheyev can really carry that line. EP has a lot of defensive responsibilities as well, like one JT Miller does, but what do you thought of EP40? He's kind of like he's my swing vote. He's my X factor, like I said.
Yeah, they talk about winning the playoffs with goaltending and down the middle, and they need Elias Pettersson to step up if they want to have any chance of taking on that Draisaitl line. Yeah, he hasn't played good. Does that mean he's not going to play good this series? No, I hope not. But as you mentioned, he's a good player. At any point, he can kind of snap out of that funk. So we definitely got to keep an eye on him. But yeah, at this very moment, it's not looking good for him.
Mainlander Tim, fun fact, Zadorov is Russian for speed bump. Mainlander Tim, you're the man. I believe it's going to be a late game for Mainlander Tim out east. Tim, can you let me know what time it's going to start again for you? Because you're a trooper, my guy. You are what nation citizens all across the globe is all about. Nice. I hear Spencer on the mic. Maybe I don't need the
there
FC.
You go.
I'm going to let this bad boy run for a little bit. I mentioned it, though, with JT Miller. He's the best player on this team, but maybe not Quinn Hughes, but JT Miller, he's had a great season. 37 goals, 103 points. Tyler went through his rat list today, and I said JT Miller is the start of my rat list. I'm also throwing Big Z on that list as well. He said Nathan McKinnon is better than Connor McDavid. I'll never get over that one.
Yeah.
I'll never get past it. Who's your biggest rat on the Vancouver Canucks?
Biggest rat or best player? Biggest rat?
Biggest rat.
Yeah, it's got to be.
Give me both. Give me both.
Well, it's got to be JT.
The answer might be both.
Well, it is. I worded that wrong. JT Miller is definitely the biggest rat. He's going to be someone we're going to have to keep an eye on for sure. And I wasn't going to say best player necessarily, but someone I'm keeping an eye on. That Connor Garland line with Dakota Joshua and Elias Lindholm, that's going to be a bit of a factor for me. I think if you just look straight across, line 1, we've got a better one. Line 2, ours is better. And then you look at that line 3, they've just got a lot of experience on that line, and they've definitely, you talked about lightning in a bottle. They caught that a lot this year. They were playing unreal. So if that third line keeps hot, we're going to have to find an answer for it.
I like that you mentioned earlier, playoffs, it's all about down the middle. And when you look at that team, can you pull up the lineup again, Brett? The spine of JT Miller, EP40, Elias Lindholm, and then Teddy Bluger, who is a good fourth-line player. I mean, he's a good penalty killer and does what he needs to do. I'm very interested that you know what you're going to get from that top line of Suter, JT Miller, and Brock Besser. It's 2 and 3 that are kind of my swing vote right there. And Connor Garland's had good stretches this season. He's another guy I might throw on my rat list as well. Finally, with the Canucks backhand, it's something I lightly touched with just the McDavid first line. But they have a couple guys on that back end that are big and they are slow, and speed is their kryptonite. Tyler Myers, Ian Cole, Big Z. They have their smaller guys in Hughes and Hronek, sure, but if the Oilers want to be tough on them, I think it's all about playing with speed. You're not going to be dealing with the 1-3-1. You're not going to have to dump and chase as much as you may have had to do in round 1 against the LA Kings. Speed kills, brother. Speed kills, and I think that's the way the Edmonton Oilers can take advantage of this squad right now. My StreamYard just completely quit out right in front of me.
That's okay.
Oh
we
my
got
God,
lots.
yours too as well.
I think it's another factor, too, if they do end up playing the Quinn Hughes, Hronek line on McDavid. One of their biggest strengths is offense with Quinn Hughes and Hronek. Quinn Hughes has that offensive side to him, but if we're playing in their end, if he's up against Connor McDavid and Zach Hyman and we're battling a good percentage of the ice time in their zone, it's going to be difficult for them to put up those points, which is kind of something we even saw against Nashville there. They played so defensively that they didn't really get those offense opportunities, and that could be something we take advantage of in this series as well.
Pat, both of our laptops just disconnected from the internet at the same time right now. We're still live on YouTube right here, Brett. So yours is still good. It would appear to be that way. Let me know if you can hear us right now on the screen. But let's move along now to Bordzy's bankroll, courtesy of Betway 19+. Please play responsibly, because with Betway, you can get a free bet of up to $200 if your first bet loses. All you got to do, create a new account, scan the QR code on the screen, and redeem your bonus. You place a bet, no minimum amount required, and if the bet loses, you can get a refund up to 200 big ones. You can then use that money to bet on your favorite sports and ride with Bordzy's bankroll, people. This offer is only available outside of Ontario. So without further ado, tonight, the big choices. I switched up the first one slightly. First option, over 6.5 total goals, and number 97 to get 2+ points. That one currently sits at plus 130. There's a fair amount of value right there. I like the over in this game, in this series. I think it's be more run and gun than the LA one. But granted, I thought the LA one would be an under series. Turns out there was a lot of goals to start that one. Your second option is Leon Draisaitl to get 1+ power play points. That's sitting at a dead even plus 100. I think you got to like those odds, with especially the way the Oilers power play has been rolling. But as I mentioned, Canucks PK rocking at 90%. And then your final option, he's in his hometown. He's back. He's been rolling very well lately. It's Evander Kane. And that juice on there is crazy to me for plus 115 to just get 1 point. Not a power play point, not anything else. So just 1 point. Could be 1 assist at plus 115. That way, I don't know if you're offering that one, but I'm taking that 3 times over. What do you think, Pat? What are you picking?
If I'm going to pick one, I think I got to pick 29, 1 power play point. I think there's no doubt we're going to get a power play today, and there is no doubt we're going to score on it. And if you think Draisaitl's not getting a point on that, I mean, it's possible. But I feel like I feel like that's a lock for me. Kaner to get a point is really juicy as well at 115. I do like the over in this game, but I wish it was 6, not 6.5. So for that reason, I'm going to pick 29, 1 power play point.
Yeah, if it was 6, that would be a little... I'd feel much safer with that.
That's the only reason.
I'm seeing right now, it's a tight battle.
Woo.
Leon leading the way with 46%. Then it's the over 6.5 with 33%.
I do like that Kane point, though.
Once again, I trick you all the time. Joke's on you. I already bet all 3 of them, people, responsibly. 19 plus, of course. So it's officially 8 o'clock, people. Go pour yourself a drink. Maybe get some food. Get your order on from wherever you're ordering from tonight. I believe it's 8:20. We're going to get some puck drop. I got to get this event going a little bit. Throw some T-shirts, add some people. As I mentioned, off the hop. Oilersnation After Dark live right here from GRETA after the game. It's me and Pat breaking her down, as I mentioned. Maybe a live hit from Ty and Liam. Depends if they take that beer can to the side of head that I fully expect is going to go down at Rogers Arena. Brett, great job behind the scenes this evening. If you're still in Edmonton, you're looking for a place to watch the game, Moss Pit's 2-packed, Fan Park 2-packed. Come on down to GRETA. It's first come, first serve. Still see a couple spots available. And hey, if you come down here and you challenge me to a game of skee ball, I'm contractually obligated to have to kick your ass in that. That's a guarantee right there. I love all of you. Give me a courtesy like on your way out in the YouTube. And of course, big shout out to all of our sponsors, Sherwood Ford the Giant, Sherwood Power Sports and Marine, Greta Bar Yeg, Betway 19 plus, please play responsibly, Willock Beef Jerky, for your need to know info, and Boston Pizza. Team up for the win. I ain't teaming up for shit for this first round for 7 games, but BPs, we love you. We appreciate you. Everything you do for us. And Pat, Brett, I love you and appreciate everything you do for me. We'll catch you right here after the game. Good luck, Edmonton Oilers, going for a Game 1 victory.